What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. As you can see, rolling on the ticker. We're going to get into the Big Ten and Michigan and how both parties just want to get this squashed. Memphis was offering $200 million that the Big 12 said no to. And what is the value of your college football team, or should I say the most popular college football teams? And we might have a little bit of a lightning round here with win totals with the ACC and Big Ten holding media days simultaneously, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. It's going to be a huge week for yours truly. By the way, I turned 38 in, what is today? Like 10 days. Dog. Your man's is feeling good. Your man's is feeling really good. I'm having such a good time doing this show, writing about the sport. Go check out this column that I wrote about Georgia being kings of the SEC. And probably going to have some things to say about the Big Ten this week as the writing is coming and college football is coming. We're going to start playing games next month, August 23rd. Probably going to start doing live shows during that week. So keep your ears perked up for that. But I want to start with some news that The Athletic broke this morning about Michigan and the NCAA and the Big Ten. Turns out Tony Pettiti sent a letter to the hearing where he was supposed to make an appearance on the infractions that Michigan committed or may have not committed, depending on what kind of Michigan fan you are. If you're the one that sees what you did and said, we got caught, great, good for you. If you are not the one that see what you did and say, hey, everybody's cheating, we were just better at it until you got caught. Okay. Either way, Tony Pettiti and the Big Ten want this done. They want this squashed. In writing, they say, we don't think that Michigan should receive any further sanctions from the NCAA, in large part due to they already paid a price, right? So when this was first revealed that Connor Stallions had organized a group of people to go to more than 24 college football games across the country with the expressed idea of putting a camera on the sideline of a team you might play, recording their signals, and then deciphering them at home so that you could use them on the sideline to know what they were going to run. Yeah, everybody got upset about this. This also made headset to helmet technology a thing that needed to happen right then, quick, fast, and in a hurry. And to really drive this home, it's that the rest of the Big Ten was so furious about this that Pettiti and the Big Ten had to do something about it. From Graciano Reckers seemingly tipping off Texas Christian in the 2022 college football playoff semifinal, the Fiesta Bowl, where Texas Christian was able to send some dummy stuff in there and really confuse Michigan, put themselves in a ball game, and more importantly, they won that ball game. Feels like every time Michigan had the signals, they won the football game. Now, I realized that they had basically been doing this since Connor Stallions started doing it, 2021, give or take, joined the staff around 2018. But that 2023 season is the one that we're really focused on. And that's the one where they go 15-0 and undefeated. Okay. We're also talking about this at a time when it dropped in October that this was a thing. So by the time we get to November, Jim Harbaugh has already sat out 3 games due to NCAA recruiting violations, to say nothing of Sherrone Moore also missing time during that. And then the Big Ten came with another set of sanctions for Jim Harbaugh, for which he was not on the sideline when they played Maryland, was not on the sideline when they played Ohio State. Didn't matter, right? And it was really chilly when Michigan won the Big Ten championship that year, as Jim Harbaugh was standing noticeably several feet away from Tony Pettiti because he believes that he was unfairly made the scapegoat for other coaches being upset until the process could be completed. I, during that time and during this time, have said 2 things. 1, you cheated, you got caught, pay a penalty. 2, the kids did not care. They simply did not care. They went and they played. Like, this was not affecting their play on the football field. Now, knowing what play to run is one thing. Executing that play is something else entirely. There is nothing about that you could do when a man is going to say, I'm going to move you from point A to point B against your will. That's called blocking. I'm going to throw you on the ground against your will. That's called tackling, right? I'm going to catch this football. I'm going to break ankles with this juke move. We're going to play stifling defense. These are things I got to give Michigan credit for. And frankly, they played a game that did not look dissimilar to the one that Georgia had been playing for the previous 2 years. They didn't need to throw the ball all over the yard to win. They just need to run the ball well and play great defense. That's the Michigan that we've come to know. That is the Michigan that Sherrone Moore put on the field last year, and that is the one that would manage to go 8-5 without the use of a friggin' quarterback, because they don't really use friggin' quarterbacks like that. In the year where they won the national championship, they played 15 games. J.J. McCarthy didn't throw for 3,000 yards. They don't need to do that. As a matter of fact, they've only had 2 3,000-yard passers for single season, and you can't tell me who they are because they don't really rate. At Michigan, you run the ball, you play defense, and that's what you do at Georgia. They don't need 1,000-yard receivers. They don't need 1,000-yard tailbacks. Matter of fact, they ain't had a 1,000-yard tailback at Georgia since DeAndre Swift 2019. They've only had one 1,000-yard receiver in their history, and Terrence Edwards at Georgia. At Michigan, you had this dude named Braylon Edwards, and you probably need to throw that dude to rock. Unless that dude started playing running back for you, I just don't see Braylon being that kind of dude. And he was still cold. He was so cold. But, I mean, that's one dude, right? Colston Loveland was the leading receiver for this team last year and the most dependable on that team in 2023, despite what you might think about Roman Wilson and others. And if the Big Ten wants this squashed, then there's nothing to discuss anymore. I'm serious. Like, the Big Ten and the SEC are fast becoming the two entities that run college football. Whether or not we want to admit it or not doesn't really factor into it for me. What does factor into it for me is, hey, we decided that this is no longer good for the sport. It's no longer good for Michigan. It's no longer good for the Big Ten. And if the Big Ten wants to just say, hey, let bygones be bygones, then let bygones be bygones, because this has been dragging out for so long. And I realize we're going to have people in the comments and outside saying, hey, look, the hammer was never going to fall. The hammer was never coming. Fine. I mean, if that's what you got to do, cool. You still got to play football come August. Got to play football come August. And there are other teams that still want to beat you, but that's the way that Michigan wants it. Like, they really don't mind wearing the black hat. They don't mind being hated by people. They are okay with it. As a matter of fact, it's not good enough that Ohio State won the national championship last year, because Ohio State lost to Michigan. Michigan beat Ohio State on the way to a national championship and beat Ohio State without a quarterback last year. I still maintain that if they just throw the ball in the direction of Jeremiah Smith, the score's different. I don't care if you bracket covering him or not, because if you bracket covering him and you're forcing him to rock, you're going to roll coverage that way. You roll coverage that way. You throw it to Carnell Tate, Brandon Innes. You take advantage, right? You don't run into the teeth of the best defensive line that you're going to see all year. And that was what it was. They ran into the teeth of the best defensive line that they saw all year because, well, Ohio State's got some pride about them. The one thing you will not say about Ohio State is that they are soft. They can't stand it, and they will run into that brick wall as often as they possibly have to make the point known that, no, we come to run the football too. Turns out last year it's not the year to be doing that. Last year you had Jeremiah Smith, which is like Michigan having Braylon Edwards. Let's not make this stupid, right? Let's go win the football game and then talk about how hard or soft your team can be. I'm with Pettiti on this because if he sent the letter, normally a commissioner shows up to these sorts of hearings, but if he sent the letter and it states what the Athletic says it does, forget it, because at this point, it's been a year since that documentary came out on Netflix and nothing has happened. We've had lots of him and Han. We had lots of John. We had lots of talking season about what this is going to be. A lot of it from this show. But frankly, I'm also wanting to see an end to this. Like, I will continue to do the segments for as long as we got to keep doing the segments, which is to say until they give us an end. But it feels like the Big Ten knows that it's two programs, Michigan and Ohio State, are its bread and butter. 2 of the 4 founding members. Okay? Let's do that. Let's come back to the table as the Big Ten and go get what you want, which is your 4 qualifying bids for the college football playoffs. It's really hard to do that if you don't have Michigan on board. Michigan also going through it in a number of ways, right? But this is just the latest one, and it's something that the Big Ten could do, right? It's an olive branch. It's a way of bringing them back into the fold and making everybody else understand, hey, it's family, and we're gonna fight. We're gonna get it going on once again, and we'll handle on the football field. I'm with him on this, right? On the other side of this, as we're going to take a break, I want to talk about what's the deal with the valuations of some of these football teams and the valuations of others, which is going to lead us, I promise, to Memphis as we get into the show. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. Thank you for joining us here. We do this every day. If you're new to the show, please hit that subscribe button and follow us on Apple and Spotify, where you can listen to the audio podcast. If you're doing so now, thank you. I hope you're enjoying your commute to wherever, and I hope that the sound of my voice is doing something for you, because I can't stand listening to the sound of my voice as often as people want to point it out, like, nah, dog, I don't listen back to these. Why would I? And if you're Memphis, you probably wouldn't want to listen back to this particular segment, because we're talking about the valuation of college football teams. And I find it interesting, right? I like this stuff. I like it as theory and theoreticals, because we're never going to see the sell of a college football team, we hope. But with private equity coming in and teams and conferences never being more hungry for money to pay out, revenue sharing, name, image, and likeness, just to name two new costs that you had to add, it's not out of the realm of possibility for a private equity firm to want to take a large stake in a particular college football program. But I was more interested in the methodology for which the Athletic came up with the numbers that I'm about to give to you. So I'm going to give you their methodology. Then I'm going to go through the list, and we're going to see who rates and who doesn't. So they said, we use real life pro transactions to gauge purchase price as relative to a team's revenue over the past 3 available years of data. NFL, NBA sales guided our ratios in the SEC and the Big Ten, while MLB and NHL were our rough benchmarks in the ACC and the Big 12. For each school in a Power 4 plus Notre Dame, we factored in everything from prestige and championships to facility renovations, population trends, and realignment scenarios. That means treating Notre Dame more like the Los Angeles Lakers and Boston College more like Kansas City Royals, the Kansas City Royals, excuse me. So it's kind of all over the map, but it might make sense for the individual teams themselves, which, that's how we treat college football, right? We don't rate Memphis the same way that we rate Clemson, right? Clemson's won national championships, plays in the ACC. Memphis has gone from Conference USA to the American, and as I have alluded to, tried to join the Big 12, not once, but twice. So what we have here is Texas at the top, which I don't think shocks anybody, because if you looked at revenue share, you make overall revenue, you would see Texas and Texas A&M are 2 of the top 5 teams each year, because those athletic departments don't lack donors, and they don't lack oil money. It's the closest thing that we get to the PLF being domestic as anything else in the world, right? That's how we gauge. Texas is going to be about theirs. A&M is going to be about theirs. So Texas comes in at a projected price of $2.38 billion, which is, again, an enormous number, but not as much as you might expect for, say, what they contribute. Like, if you were to try to buy the Dallas Cowboys today, I think you're looking at closer to $20 billion. I'm not being facetious about that. When you look at how much these teams are going for and how the money has gotten so big as to seem intergalactic, $2.38 billion feels like a bargain for the Texas Longhorns football team, given what you can do with all of it, right? I'm not just talking about what you could do from a merchandising standpoint, what you could do from sponsorships. What if you could put more patches on jerseys? Those sorts of things, right? I think that if there was a pool of people that saw that number and said, hey, is Texas for sale? You would get a lot of Texas businessmen to go in on this, and probably one majority owner in particular. Behind them, you get Georgia at $1.92 billion. So only one team is above $2 billion, and that's the University of Texas, with Georgia trailing them. Ohio State coming in at third with 1.9, so just $200,000 behind Georgia, but I think Ohio State would dispute all of this given the economic impact of what Ohio State home games are, especially when that team is really good, ranked inside the top 5, means for Columbus and the state of Ohio. Notre Dame checks in at 4 at $1.85 billion. Michigan at 5 at $1.83 billion. Alabama at 6, $1.74 million. Oklahoma at 7, $1.49 billion. The Sooners, more than any other program in the entire country, matter to the state. That's what that means to me. You can talk about Nebraska, but Nebraska's fallen off. You can talk about Arkansas. Arkansas is not won at the level that Oklahoma has won. And when we talk about teams that really don't have an NFL comp and only has one major team comp, yeah, you're talking about the Sooners, because that's what this state is built on. 1907 is when Oklahoma received statehood. By 1955, we're talking about a national championship. So it took less than 50 years. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do here. We play football. We play Sooner football. I realize that Oklahoma State has had some things to say. I also know my alma mater, University of Tulsa, has 4 Pro Football Hall of Famers. Hello. But if you're talking about what runs the state and what the state is recognized for, first and foremost, internationally, it is Sooner football, right? After Oklahoma, we get USC, which is interesting because SC likes to think quite a bit of itself. Tennessee, LSU, Penn State, Florida, Auburn, Oregon. Oregon is the first team under $1 billion here. As Auburn, having won that national championship 2010, probably doing a lot of work there. Florida, having won 2006, 2008 Urban Iowa years. The one that's kind of squirrely to me here is Penn State. I get Tennessee because of what they've been here lately and making the college football playoff, having Nico Iamaleava drive such a conversation a couple years ago with his NIL signing. But Penn State hasn't won any national championship in the 21st century. Neither is Tennessee, for that matter. Tennessee also plays in a tougher conference, and Penn State has been operating like an independent for so long that it's still hard for Penn Staters and people that root for Big Ten teams or even college football to be like, are they really a part of the league? Yeah, they are. But they also like to be known as Penn State before they want to be known as a Big Ten member, and I understand that. Whereas Auburn wants to be in the SEC, synonymous with the SEC. Same thing with Tennessee. It's the conference that is bigger than all of its teams, which I think has made it a much more attractive conference. When you still have teams in your league that want to operate like independents, which is what Oklahoma and Texas were doing toward the end of their years in the Big 12, then you're going to have a hard time. I thought, thinking about Gene Smith during the COVID year, when you had Nebraska and Scott Frost and others talking about, we'll lead the Big Ten if y'all won't let us play football. Gene Smith was steadfast going, you know that we're always going to be Big Ten members. That's not what this is about. We want to play football. Everybody wants to play football. But he stopped short of going, hey, look, we go back to the 19th century with this league, which is to say it matters to Ohio State that they are a part of the Big Ten. And it mattered more because SC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA decided to join up. I find that pretty telling. Oregon ranking ahead of A&M, I did not see coming, but A&M has been not great for some time, right? We're talking about really the biggest win that they've had is upsetting a ranked Alabama as an unranked team with Zach Calzada at quarterback. And you keep going down the list, you'll see teams that you expect to, like Washington, Nebraska, Florida State, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan State, Clemson, Arkansas, Miami. We can keep going all the way through here. Then we get to 25, Miami, Ole Miss, North Carolina, South Carolina, Minnesota, Utah, Texas Christian. Texas Christian, I think, edges into this thing at $523 million, the bottom, because they make the college football playoff national championship game. Then they got sunned 65-7. What is cool about this is I can make an argument for almost every program here, save perhaps North Carolina, excuse me. I can't tell you that North Carolina has been great. Playing New Year's Six bowl game, cool, great. Mac Brown years, awesome for you. Minnesota had a great 2019. Hasn't really reached that high water mark, but historically, the Gophers have been a team that you have to contend with. Here in the last few years, we know about Clemson. Michigan State has made the college football playoff. Utah, one of the more steadier programs that we've seen in the last 15 years, say last year, where you could just count on them to be there at the end winning. And then South Carolina had a great last year, like with Lenore Sellers, and then the ability to beat Clemson, which is a national champ in your backyard, being the state champs. That means something to us, not just to them. I think when I look at what the average football revenue might be for some of these programs is where you also kind of get itchy, because average football revenue, according to The Athletic for Texas, is $183 million. After that, at number 2, you drop down to 147. There's a chasm here. It's also why we end up beating up on Texas so often. Texas is doing the least with the most for years. When I look at the University of Texas and I look at the money they have coming in and I look at what the state of Texas produces in high school football recruits, and remember, Oklahoma goes down there often to go get players that don't want to go to Texas, you feel like they should win a national championship every other year. Instead, they've not played for a national championship since 2009. They've had Bijan Robinson come through. Sam Ehlinger is a folk hero to some. Quinn Ewers should be a folk hero to many. Every great quarterback that has grown up in Texas had a shot to get there. I mean, from Andrew Luck to Johnny Manziel to RG3. That's 2 Heisman winners and one of the most fallible college football players of all time. They decided they wanted to go another way each time. This might be just the second time that they hit in the last 7 years on who I think their quarterback should be. Sam Ehlinger turns out to be the guy that could run Tom Herman's offense. But I think about that 2019 year where they just sold out to beat LSU and it came up short, but LSU goes undefeated and they were banged up the rest of the year. What if you manage it differently? And that's really the task with Texas. Can you manage this situation? Because you're going to miss somebody. Jalen Milroe was committed to Texas, wanted to go to Texas, told me right here on this channel, it's all I want to do, RJ. Grew up going to went to Katie Tompkins. Mike Yurcich decided that wasn't his guy. Nick Saban said, come on down. And what do you get? You get a quarterback that leads you to an SEC championship, beats Georgia, and makes the college football playoff. If there wasn't a Jaden Daniels, there would have been a Jalen Milroe. Like, that's how good that school, that state is at producing talent. And talent, again, wants to go to Texas. So, yeah, when you look at these numbers and you see how much money they make and bring in, it only stands to reason that we're hard on them. And we should always be hard on them because they don't have any excuse. There's no reason for them to not be great every single year. Meanwhile, Oklahoma's average annual football revenue is at $135 million. Again, going from Big 8 dominance to Big 12 dominance to not dominant in the SEC probably hurt this. But if they came out firing like Texas did, probably top 5 here in the valuations. That's could go up this year if Oklahoma gets off on a good foot. Really excited about what that can mean for Brent Venables, because I like Brent Venables. I want Brent Venables to keep the job. And then there's Michigan, right, that we have to mention here, bringing in $141 million in average annual football revenue. And that's not too shabby, especially given the down years they had with Jim Harbaugh before the up years that came. Remember, they restructured that man's contract after the 2020 season, made him eat basically incentive-laden contract that I thought was much more of a slap in the face, but he was also flirting with the NFL then too. He takes that contract, he builds the program into what it is. They go win a national championship, and he says, adios. I did what I came to do. As he said at his post-victory press conference national championship game, now I get to sit with the grown-ups at the table because his brother had won a Super Bowl, his dad won national championships. Now he gets to be one of the big boys too, which I very much enjoyed. All right, come back. I want to have this discussion about Memphis and what we learned about what the Big 12 is actually looking for and how bad Memphis desperately wants to play for national championships. University of Memphis wanted to join the Big 12, came up with a proposal to join the Big 12. The Big 12 said, we're not interested. Honey, why? Adapt and respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the show, thanks for joining us here. Talk college football year round. If you are so up for it, answer the questions that are scrolling on the ticker and go get your free sticker. Now, I found this report out of left field because we're going into a week where the ACC and the Big Ten are going to hold media days. So Monday, to see the report coming from Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports that Memphis had tried to join the Big 12 by offering $200 million and the Big 12 saying, no, thanks. I said, huh? Okay, so now we know why this story's out there. They said no. But why did they say no? So there's this part of Ross's column that you should go read. But I thought this was the most important part. Memphis President Bill Hardgrave has spent at least 14 months visiting the presidents and top athletic administrators of many Big 12 schools in individual on-campus meetings that have culminated in a membership offer to the league that is expected to be as high as $200 million over the next 5 years. When Dellinger reached out to some people in the Big 12 about this, he got one anonymous quote back that I thought was pretty good. We vetted Memphis when we added the other 4, Cincinnati, Central Florida, Houston, BYU, and chose not to add them. What's changed? The layout of college football, perhaps, the layout of the money that you need. This, again, second most important part of the story for me that Ross wrote. The industry has never been in a more money-hungry time. Already, Big 12 schools are receiving roughly $1 million in additional revenue from sponsorship with PayPal. Memphis' proposal would have increased that by at least $2 million with sponsorship commitments from Memphis partners. The school is historically aligned with partners such as FedEx, Lowe's, and AutoZone. The school would also take zero distribution for the final 5 years of the league's new deal with ESPN and Fox, add sponsorships in excess of $150 million over 5 years, and subject itself to expulsion after 2030-31 if the Big 12 deems it's not adding value. That sounds like a found money, zero risk option for the Big 12. But if I'm playing devil's advocate, which is to say, what's the argument against adding Memphis? You're going to create an imbalance, right? Even team versus odd teams. That's going to mess up the math when it comes to playing for championships and or selection into the college football playoff, which I'll get to. You're also going to add another program that just got hit with, some sanctions of their own with Penny Hardaway and the basketball team, but that's nothing new. If anybody's been following Memphis basketball since it was Memphis State, or even since John Calipari was head coach there. What is new is that Memphis has been playing football at a high level for about 2 decades now. Like, I'm going all the way back to D'Angelo, I remember being scared of parts of Memphis, the football team. Don't take that anywhere else. I like Memphis. Memphis is great. Chill out. I look at Memphis and I ask myself, why do they want it this bad? That's the Big 12. You know why they want it this bad? Southern Methodist. So Southern Methodist asked to join the ACC, get out of the American, for one reason and one reason only: to have a road to play in the college football playoff, period. You know that if you win the conference championship, or at least make the conference championship game, you have a greater than zero chance of making the college football playoff in a 12-team format. It was worth it to Southern Methodist and its billion-dollar donors to forego a lot of money from television revenue if they could get into the league. To which the ACC said, yeah, why not? Could not hurt. We like adding the value. You won a bunch of games in the American, and Southern Methodist has wanted to play big boy football for some time. You take it back to the early 1980s, Southern Methodist was playing big boy football. Then they got caught for cheating. They got death penalty. They fought their way back. They consistently have shown that they can win with different coaches and that the administration is about its business. Cool, we'll let them in. They did not expect them to run through the regular season undefeated and make the conference championship game in year one. Okay? Maybe the SEC thought this would happen with Texas and Oklahoma, but it wasn't enough to upset the apple cart until it was, right? You get SMU in this thing, and then Alabama ain't getting in this thing because you already know Texas is going to get in this thing, right? Add to this, if you're adding Memphis to the Big 12, and you know that Memphis can fight at the front right away. You got Iowa State, you got Kansas State, you got Colorado, you got BYU, you got Oklahoma State. You got so many programs that just want to taste this college football playoff when you could only get one team in last year. One. And that was your conference champion. Arizona State played well, acquitted itself well, made the Big 12 look as tough as it is. You add Memphis to this, even if you're not taking any money out of their pockets, they're adding money to your pockets. How much money is enough for you to feel bad about not making the college football playoff? After some time, the money is diminishing returns, right? It's just keeping score. I don't think the Big 12 is there yet. I think if they thought they could get Memphis then, they think they can get Memphis now. Pac-12 has made Memphis a really interesting offer, but Memphis knows what you know and I know. The Pac-12 does not have a road to the college football playoff. That is the most important part of this calculus. You want to join a Power 4 conference because the Power 4 conferences still have a direct path to playing for the national championship. And that is about playing for money. Okay? There is $8 billion that ESPN paid to air the rights to these games. It's being distributed among the teams that make the playoff and continue to win. Okay? This is what I think of as a sweetheart deal for Notre Dame because they're not in a conference. They get to keep all the money that they make. Whereas Ohio State spread that money across the Big Ten. Memphis could be that, right? But is that something you really want to do? And then the last time that they tried to add more teams, UConn and Gonzaga for basketball, failed, right? Failed. Gonzaga ends up joining the Pac-12, which I thought was a better fit anyway. No football presence to speak of. And UConn had a really great season last year, but I don't know how committed they are to playing football, period, at a high level, which is why they're still independent, right? I think that the Big 12 should have submitted its own offer. That's what I think. I think the Big 12 should have found another way because you're going to have more realignment. You're going to have more teams that are looking to join your conference. And eventually, I think we're going to get down to we only have this much room for what we think of as FBS programs playing for the national championship. Not because I want it that way, but because that's the way it's going. You're pricing out so many other programs just by the money continue to go up. Like Boise State coming up is really going to help the Pac-12. That's why they can lead the Mountain West, right? And you look at the Mountain West, it's being pillaged. Not unlike the Pac-12 was pillaged and was no more. So you grow or die, and that is capitalism. That's how you do business. You don't get to stand still. You don't get to count the money. You have to continue to make money and get bigger and eat and eat and eat. Memphis doesn't necessarily know what it's going to do next, but I guarantee you this. They want to win, and they are unafraid to spend the money necessary to win. Somebody's going to take them up on that deal. Don't know who it's going to be. I just know who they don't want it to be. Sunbelt, Conference USA, Pac-12, Mountain West. None of the conferences that don't have a direct path to the college football playoff, and because the Big Ten and the SEC are holding all the cards, they let the ACC and the Big 12 have seats at the table because they have to form something like, fairness, at least to us in appearance. But let's not get it twisted here. The emphasis needs to be on getting as many teams into the college football playoff from your league as humanly possible. Memphis helps that. The money that they're bringing in will also help that because that's more money you get to pay out, not just to coaches, players, assistants, but just support staff. We're seeing front offices take up more of the operating cost. You had to create one out of whole cloth in many cases. You are having to recruit and evaluate and sign more lawyers, more lawyer fees. A greater and bigger college football playoff is great for you and me, and that's what the game is about. But somebody's got to find a way to fund this, and somebody will. I'm never too far from the point of college football is too big to fail. But it isn't so big that the Big 12 can't fail. Just take a look at the Pac-12. Memphis, I salute you for trying to come up with a found money plan for the Big 12. That they can't see themselves taking it, can't do much about that. But I know this, you got more opportunities this year. You run through the American, you win the conference championship, you make the college football playoff, and maybe you might think about doing what was unthinkable some years ago. Just go independent. Just get out of the American, put together your own damn schedule, make sure that you're barn burning like Notre Dame, and then reap the benefits of what independent, barnstorming, ranked opponents can be like. I think that's there for you. But that also means that you're going to have to do this without a net. And that is what a league is. It's a safety net for when you are down, when you're not that good. It's betting on yourself, which is something y'all tell us to do. But when it comes time for the money to bet on itself, it says, hey, man, I would much rather we find a different way. All right. Yeah. That's how it goes. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Adapt and Respond. If you like the show, remember to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify, and I will see y'all on the flip side. Doses.